Hey there, YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and this is the review for Volume 13 of Eden Zero's Chapters 105 to 113. And I have to say, this manga cover's got to be the most beautiful artwork that Hiro Yamashita has ever done. And I have seen a lot of his work. I don't know about you guys, but I love the colors and art textures on this one. And out of all the Eden Zero manga covers I've seen, this one's got to be my favorite one. Now, I can go on about the colors, textures, and the design of this cover and how breathtaking it is to me, but that's not what this video is about. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start the review. Now, what we learned from the last volume is that Ziki, Shiki's grandfather, turns out to be the antagonist of the series that betrayed Shiki. Now there is a race between the crew of Eden Zero and Ziki of the Eden 1 ship. Now here is chapter 105, Dragonfall, to where it started off where it left off. Once they enter the Dragonfall, they notice millions of dragons scattered around and must find a way to get past them. But what they also notice is that some dragons have been destroyed by the Eden's 1. However, one dragon survived and started to attack them, and the crew wanted to outrun it until more dragons came around. So the crew decided to fight back. And what caught my attention in one of the pages is that when Hamura admitted that marksmanship isn't her forte, Jin decided to take her place, but only to protect Clean as he has a sister complex. Go figures. Anyways, as the crew struggle to face against the dragon's power, Hermit activates the Ether Link MO, which allows Shiki, Weiss, Jin, and Rebecca to use their ether gears to power the weapons. Therefore, they use their special abilities that are added to the guns. Now, get into the exciting part of this attack is when Shiki activates his overdrive and creates a black hole that swallows the dragon, giving his crew to escape. They made it out of the Sakura Cosmos, but then run into more problems with this big guy in the way. But they managed to dodge and find the Poseidon Nero sector, the Aro Cosmos. The next chapter starts with Ziamani retelling of the story of the previous event, and then moves on to Shiki and the crew viewing the Aro Cosmos along with Jin and his sister. Shiki wants to be friends with Jin, but he says no. Kinda harsh, but I can understand why. Shiki's habit of making friends can be underwhelming, and some people seem to find him annoying. I'm not gonna lie, that habit of his can annoy me sometimes, but I'll still be friends with that weirdo. But anyway, back to the chapter, which mention about their memories being erased from the traveling log records. Therefore, she claims the era to be an unknown territory. However, Hermit forms a plan into restoring their memories by retracing their steps from 15 years ago, and suggests heading to the fire planet known as the Red Cave. She also discovers an individual called the Emperor, who has the ultimate authority within the Irrational Safe Galactica that lives among the Aura Cosmos. So the crew decide to keep their eyes open while they head towards their destination. Meanwhile, in the next page, it shows Justice's crew. Okay, this seems kind of random to show Justice out of the blue. I mean, what was the last time we saw this guy? Something to do with Elsie and wanting to destroy her, but other than that, I don't remember much about this guy. Anyways, back to the chapter. His crew gets a call from a higher-up counselor and willing to talk to Justice alone. Meanwhile, while we, the viewers, are introduced to a group that are trained to take down the Irrational Six Galactica. They are called the Irrational Say Interstellars. Okay, I'm not gonna remember these groups' names, so I'm gonna call them by their initials. For Justice and his crew, it's gonna be OSI, and for Elsie, it's gonna be OSG. Now, if you hear me saying OSI or OSG, then you will know who I'm talking about. Anyways, back to Justice wanting to kill Elsie for taking everything away from him, to Shiki and the crew finding the fire planet. But then discover that the planet that was suspected to be hot and filled with fire actually has an ocean? Suspicious. And as you would have guessed, this chapter is pretty much the beach episode of the anime, where there are nice panels of the view, also Hiro's favorite bikini butt shots and Weiss being a pervert, Shiki and Rebecca playing in the water together, then there is a panel with the view of the ocean with everyone, and then there's Shiki and Rebecca. I know there's a shipping fan base of these two getting together, and I think it's Shika or Ribiki. Anyways, I do support the shipping of Shika, but I don't want to accept the pairing because, to be honest, I have been shipping Shiki with Hamura since the Sun Jewel arc. Honestly, I see more of a connection with these two than any other characters. This shipping I like to call Shirma, Shiki, and Hamura. Now, I will tell you guys the rest of my shipping issues at the end of the video, but for now, let's get back to this chapter. So as Shiki and Rebecca took sight of the view and recorded for the blog, they noticed a ship crashing down into the ocean, and so the team decided to investigate. Hermit gave Shiki and the others an aquatic locker lacrima to help him breathe underwater. And once they found the small ship, they discovered a skeleton inside. But they also discovered an underwater temple with a carving of what looks like the ultimate being in the universe, Mother. Now that is where the next chapter of the team explored the temple, and also Rebecca took a look inside the crashing pod when she saw a writing that said, Nadia, love of my life. Thus, the title of the chapter. And if you would have guessed, Nadia is going to be one of those side characters that are introduced in the series, but we never see again unless it was intentional to the plot. Which she kind of is, because this is pretty much their story arc. And what I mean by there, I mean her and the person who is now the skeleton in the crash pod. But I will get to the story of those two when the chapter comes. But right now, it's all about chapter 109, the Red Cave. As you could guess, they discover the entrance of the Red Cave, and Nadia turns out to be the android that guards the treasure inside, called the Mother Beacon. Shiki and the crew enter the cave, but then realize they can't go any further than a few steps, as the temperature rises with every step. Shiki tries to fly through the fire, but then it turns out to be magma, and told everyone to retreat back into the temple where Nadia waits after her warning. Meanwhile, Sister contacted them and was moderating them through a screen and come up with the plan, as they also discover that Ziki has traveled through the Red Cave and succeeded, which however has a plan to receive someone from Blue Garden, and it turns out to be Laguna, the spirit of water. So in the next chapter, we learn a little bit more about Nadia, as she explains about the robots outside and that the treasure that they lost was their power source. Nadia would have perished along with the others, but then she meets a man named Andrew who rebuilt her after the shutdown. In fact, he was the same as Shiki on Granbell, the man as a human engineer that helped repair the robots. And according to Nadia, the two managed to fall in love. Nadia admitted that 200 years ago, Andrew left to receive the lost treasure, and that is when Rebecca realized that the skeleton in the ship could be Andrew. But what Nadia doesn't know is that he has returned, but just not alive. And Rebecca doesn't want to tell her about Andrew. Meanwhile, Witch shows up with Laguna, and her plan was to use his water powers on Shiki to protect him from the magma within the Red Cave. He managed to get past the magma and find himself inside a chamber where he sees an illusion of Mother. You hear me say illusion, right? Because you and I both know that it's too early for the crew to find the real Mother. So in chapter 111, it begins with Shiki holding onto a small lacrima. And according to Nadia, it's one of the vessels that contains Mother's ether. As explained, that Mother's ether has contained into different objects known as relics, and each one acts as a compass towards Mother herself. So Shiki and the crew will follow the path to find Mother, but before that, Witch speaks the truth about Andrew as Rebecca denies it. But I have to agree with Witch when she said to Rebecca, you think that hiding the truth is the only way of kindness? Yes, the truth can hurt, and some secrets were meant to be kept for a reason, but this isn't one to be kept silent because Nadia deserves to know. And I am kind of disappointed in Rebecca for not saying anything even after she found out that Andrew was the skeleton in the crash ship. That is when Witch stepped in and decided to share Andrew's story blog from the memory chip that she found at the crash site. Andrew said in his blog that he obtained the treasure after a year of searching and was on his way back to the Red Cave. However, a meteorite crashed into his ship and ran him unconscious, knocking his ship off course, and it circled around the globe for 200 years. Nadia didn't take the news very well as she runs off, snapping the cable off her and cries at the sight of her long-lost love. I'm not gonna lie, this made me cry. I swear, Eden Zero has some sad and painful moments as if this was meant to be a darker series, which I am sorta okay with since it was written by the author who doesn't allow too much gory and death in his story. And to ease the pain of the lost love, the relic that Andrew found was inside the ship and it was revealed itself and transformed the planet back to its original form, ending the chapter with a successful and somewhat happy ending, as Rebecca wished for the Corona phase to eat the time from the planet, hoping for the two to reunite once more. So after this chapter is on to a new arc, and I'm just gonna go to the point of this chapter. So the crew now has the relics from the Red Cave. Jin, Clean, and Laguna are still on board the ship and won't leave until they get what they want. Weiss is not happy about it. The four Shining Stars decide to call Shiki their lord as they felt betrayed by Ziki. Shiki likes his given name, Majimak King. Okay, that just sounds too weird. Skipping over to Elsie, she knew there was a spy on board that called the reunion on them, including Justice, who wants to take her out. The introduction to new crew members who knew about the spy as well, and allowed him to escape because Elsie believes believes all members on her ship are family. Now back to the Eden Zero, with Jin and Laguna having an eating contest and seem to be bonding. Thus, the crews are heading towards the planet called Foresta and introduced to the antagonist of the upcoming arc. Now, the last chapter of the volume comes in as a shock, because when Shiki and the crew enter the planet Foresta to find the relics of Mother, they soon discover that the robots have taken over and enslaved humankind, and also mention about the old world. They also get caught themselves when a robot detected human reading in the area. So Rebecca quickly told the others to get down on all fours and act like Pino and Happy's human slave. However, that act didn't last very long, as Shiki and Weiss attacked the robots as he wanted to claim Rebecca. And then we get an unexpected surprise. Who is one of the B-Cubers that was captured during the Glarus arc? You know, the one that had the pyramid of naked women? Yeah, that one. She brought them to her place where she explained herself of being there, as she claims to do a review of the restaurant on that planet, but then told them about the robots taking over after Ziggy visited the planet and told the humans that are living there that robots will rule over humans. Then all of a sudden they get attacked, leaving the chapter with Shiki getting ready for a fight. Well, that is the end of this review and my thoughts on the volume, and before I end this video, I want to give my thoughts on the shipping that I have mentioned back in chapters 107. Why I don't like shipping the two main characters together, and why I feel unacceptable to ship them together, and why do I ship Shiki with Hamura? Well, like I said before, I saw a connection between the two in the Sun Jewel arc. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't like Shiki with Rebecca. They seem like a good pairing, considering they're the two main characters. But I don't see the connection between the two yet, like I do with Natsu and Lucy, or with Ellie and Haru. But I don't even think if the creator wants to ship these two together. But of course, I don't mind, and I can't tell what he's thinking sometimes with his manga. But about Hamura is what some people are thinking, why would I ship Shiki with her instead of Rebecca? Well, as I mentioned before, it has something to do with the Sun Jewel arc. Hamura lost her teacher after years of searching, and then Shiki was the one that helped her get her back to her feet. He tells her that he knows what it feels like to lose somebody important to you because he went through something similar to what Hamura is going through during that time. That shows chemistry between the two, as they both discover each other's pain and connection to the similarities. Since that arc, I felt like Shiki and Hamura can comfort each other because they share the same tragedy. Honestly, I think they were meant for each other, but it's still too early to tell if it will be canon for Shiki and Rebecca. And if it is canon, it will have my support. But I will like to ship Shirama, which is Shiki and Hamura. Well then, that's the end of this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification button for more updates. RoseRed17 out.